of the Republic of the Philippines.
The 20th session of the Senate in the first regular session of the 19th Congress is hereby called to order. Our distinguished colleague from the great province of Cavite, Senator Francis Tol Tolentino, will lead the chamber in prayer.
Lord, we offer you this day and ask you to bless it. The highest glory and honor we give you for your gifts of life, strength, and wisdom, filling our hearts and minds every day, enabling us to serve your divine will, serve our countrymen, and honor this blessed nation. We thank you, dear God, for your unfailing love for humanity and your incomparable compassion and generosity. We humbly acknowledge, Lord, our sins and implore your mercy and forgiveness as your loving Father who accepts and embraces his repenting child. We lift you, O God, the Philippine Senate, its senators, staff, the media, and all those who work here, and pray for your divine hand to always be upon us, guiding our every thought and enlightening our every action. Enable, Lord God, your grace to come upon us and take hold of us, bestow us with wisdom and righteousness, so that we may be able to serve the Filipino people according to your will. Bless the corners of this hall, we pray, that it may be filled with your Spirit. Let it be your will that we may be witnesses and instruments of your divine plan as we all work hand in hand for peace, unity, and progress of our country. In our united prayer for the ultimate good of our land, we implore your light and guidance in everything that we shall say and do as we fulfill the mission you have blessed our lives with. May we be able to truly live and work as legislators for God and for the people. May we be channels through which your divine plan for humanity will find completion. May humility thrive in us so that our eyes and our minds may be open to accept others' perspectives and ideas. May our deliberations yield results that will be most pleasing to you and most beneficial for the Filipino people whom you have entrusted for us to care and serve. Enable us to live and lead with honor and dedication. May we be all channels of your light, gifts of hope, joy, wisdom, and peace. Amen.
Amen. Secretary, please call the roll of members.
Roll call of members. The Honorable Senator Angara, Senator Binay, Senator Cayetano Alan, Senator Cayetano Pia, Senator De La Rosa, Senator Ejercito, Senator Escudero, Senator Estrada, Senator Gatchalian, Senator Go, Senator Ontiveros, Senator Lapid, Senator Legarda, Senator Marcos, Senator Padilla, Senator Pimentel, Senator Poe, Senator Revilla, Senator Tolentino, Senator Tulfo, Senator Villanueva, Senator Villar Cynthia, Senator Villar Mark, the Senate President.
With 23 senators present, the chair declares the presence of a quorum. Majority Leader, sino absent? Sino absent?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we dispense with the reading of the Journal of the 19th Session, Monday, September 12, 2022, and consider the same as approved.
Is there any objection to the motion of the Majority Floor Leader? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
Mr. President, at this juncture, may we acknowledge and welcome guests from the gallery, guests of this representation, Mayor Natalie De Buque and Vice Mayor Teresa De Buque, Municipality of Anilao, Iloilo, General Cesar Pasiwen, Regional Director of Region 3, Provincial Director of Bulacan, Relly Arnedo, the visitors of Senator Bato, the League of Vice Governors of the Philippines, headed by their National President, Vice Governor Catherine Agapay of the Province of Laguna, Chairman of the Board, Honorable Kimpo, Province of Aklan, Executive Vice President Cecilia Araneta Marcos, Province of Ilocos Norte, Vice President for Mindanao, Honorable De Peralta, Province of Sarangani, SecGen from Siquijor, Honorable Mayling Quezon, Auditor, Honorable Yusuf Alano, Province of Basilan, Vice Chairman Edsel Greco Lagman Jr., Province of Albay, Vice President for Ways and Means, Honorable Jeffrey Ferrer, the Province of Negros Occidental, and PRO, Province of Dinagat Islands, Honorable Ecleo. Also, the guests of our distinguished colleague, Senator Alan Peter Cayetano, former Congresswoman Sol Aragones is here with us from the province of Bulacan. We welcome all of them, Mr. President, in this August chamber. Sorry, province of Laguna. I'm sorry. Bulacan na sabi
To
ko.
all the
Sorry.
guests that are here today from the different provinces, and of course, men and women of uniform as well as government servants, welcome to your Senate, Your Honors. Welcome to your Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, at this juncture and with the permission of the body, I move to consider proposed Senate Resolution number 106, taking into consideration proposed Senate Resolution numbers 108, 151, 154, 188, 208, and 210. I so move, Mr. President.
Is there any objection to the motion of the Majority Floor Leader? There being none, the motion is approved.
Mr. President, may we request the Secretary General to read the title of the measure?
Please proceed, Secretary.
Resolution honoring and commending the Metrobank Foundation Outstanding Filipinos of 2022.
Mr. President, may I ask that we recognize the distinguished lady from Iloilo, Pangasinan, and the Republic of the Philippines, Senator Grace Poe, to sponsor this resolution.
To our distinguished colleague, Senator Grace Poe, you are recognized, ma'am.
Mr. President, dear colleagues, magandang hapon po. This year, I had the privilege to serve as the chair of the final board of judges in the Metrobank Foundation's search for outstanding Filipinos. Meeting these modern-day heroes, trailblazers, courageous, patriotic, and excellent public servants is truly an honor. A Metrobank Foundation Outstanding Filipino Award is conferred upon teachers, soldiers, and police officers who are recognized as models of excellence in their profession and are active agents of positive change. For those of us who have been working in government, these outstanding Filipinos inspire us to be the best versions of ourselves. These individuals have gone beyond the call of duty, motivated by the burning desire to improve the quality of life in their communities and to ignite the hope that our nation needs as we recover from the pandemic. Meron palang mga ganitong mahuhusay at kahangahangang mga Pilipino na nagsusumikap hindi lang para sa kanilang sarili, kundi para sa bayan. I would like to extend my kudos to Metrobank Foundation for their professional and organized management of the awards, to the T family, and to Mr. Chito Sobrepeña. They took pains to search far and wide to come up with a remarkable pool of finalists. Though it was difficult to limit the awardees, I believe The Board of Judges chose fairly, bearing in mind this award's battle cry of "Be Excellence." Thus, I stand here proudly to sponsor Senate Resolution number 106, which honors and commends the 2022 Metrobank Foundation Outstanding Filipinos, composed of 4 teachers, 3 soldiers, and 3 policemen. Consequently, it is also the 60 years founding anniversary of the Metrobank. Mr. President, please allow me to introduce the awardees to this august chamber. Let us start with June Mirth Horta, Teacher 1 at Cupianan, Tebalugo. This is, I think, the kababayan of our Senate President. With 12 long years of teaching experience, Mr. June Mirth C. Horta has been the primary driver for the establishment of Cupianan, Tebalugo, a public school of the Matigsalug community in San Fernando, Bukidnon, and the Last Mile School with multi-grade classes. Teacher June Mirth traverses long roads and braves trails to provide education to indigenous learners, as well as spearhead community programs to combat hunger and illiteracy. Dr. Christine Joy, Dr. Aguila. Special Teacher 5, Dr. Christine Joy Aguila. Teacher 5, Philippine Science High School, Quezon City. Dr. Joy Aguila is a teacher advocate of Filipino language with numerous contributions to the academe in the areas of assessment and teaching excellence through her 14 years of teaching experience. In 2020, she finished her doctorate degree as a scholar of the Department of Science and Technology, DOST. She has been a recipient of several recognitions for her consistent stellar performance since she became an educator. Dr. Mark Nolan Confessor, Professor 6 at the Mindanao State University, Iligan Institute of Technology. After 18 years in service, Dr. Mark Nolan P. Confessor remains driven to inspire his students and mentees to be the next generation of Filipino physicists. He initiated the establishment of the Soft Matter and Biological Physics Laboratory, SMBPL, the first kind in this country, in the hope of doing cutting-edge research. Soft matter is the study of materials that include liquids, polymers, biological materials, and other materials that are easily deformed. Soft materials are important in a wide range of technological applications that affect our everyday lives, such as packaging materials, detergents, cosmetics, food additives, and liquid crystals in LCD display devices. Kahit na may mga offer na magtrabaho sa ibang bansa si Dr. Confessor, pinili niyang manatili sa ating bansa para magkaroon tayo ng ganitong uri ng laboratory. In 2016, Dr. Confessor was elected Dean of the College of Science and Mathematics of Mindanao State University, Iligan Institute of Technology. Dr. Leonila F. Dance, Professor 12 at the University of the Philippines, Manila. Dr. Dance is the first pediatric rheumatologist and one of the first clinical epidemiologists in the Philippines, being in service for 39 years. Several pediatricians have followed in her footsteps, caring for children with rheumatic conditions. Hindi nyo maiisip na ang mga bata may rheuma, pero yun po ay napakasakit para sa mga bata. Mabuti merong eksperto na nakatutok sa ganitong uri ng sakit. She led the implementation of Southeast Asia's first Master of Science program in clinical epidemiology. To this day, she extends her expertise to strengthen primary care in rural areas. And now let us meet our valiant soldiers. Technical Sergeant Joel L. Tuganan, 1st Sergeant Delta Company, 33rd Infantry Battalion, 6th Infantry Division of the Philippine Army. Technical Sergeant Tuganan's accomplishment speak volumes about his experience in combat operations as a defender of sovereignty and community welfare in Maguindanao. With his rich experience and knowledge in battle, having been in the field for 18 years, he has trained several comrades to elevate their competence in combat operations. As a soldier who has been serving in the front lines and has seen both comrade and foe lying in pools of blood, he staunchly believes that in a war, nobody wins. Thus, his triumphs also include nurturing resilient communities and community building. He's one of the first responders medic team in the front lines. We also have Colonel Maria Victoria 1. Colonel Maria Victoria P1 says, Army Chief Nurse of the Philippine Army. She has three major challenges that affect her work. One is a woman leader in a predominantly male-dominated organization. Second is a health-focused leader in a predominantly combat-focused organization. And last is a nurse leader in a doctor-dominant health organization. Despite this, she has been the driving force of the Philippine Army's health service since her entry 31 years ago. Her innovative streak led to the start of the Army aeromedical evacuation capability and enhancement of casualty care management system. She is also assigned as technical staff of the Commanding General of the Philippine Army on nursing-related matters. Colonel Stephen L. Cabanlet, Assistant Chief Unified Command Staff for Operations, Western Command, Camp General Artemio Ricarte in Puerto Princesa, Palawan. Rendering 29 years of service, Colonel Stephen Cabanlet remains fueled by the mission to bring harmony and development to conflict-ridden areas. His out-of-the-box tactics have led to successful operations, inspiring his troops to adopt unconventional approaches to achieve peace and development and winning the trust of communities in Sulu in 2011. He introduced Football for Peace, a sports advocacy program that he started in Sulu and has since been adopted in different areas. Finally, let us meet our courageous police awardees. Police Executive Master Sergeant Rogelio A. Rodriguez Jr., investigator of the Anti-Fraud and Commercial Crimes Unit's Criminal Investigation and Detection Group. He was also assigned in the Agricultural Smuggling Division. Police Executive Master Sergeant Rogelio A. Rodriguez Jr.'s contributions to the police force campaign against criminality underscored his expertise as an intelligence operative, having been in the field for 23 years. In several missions, his unit apprehended high-profile outlaws. He was also instrumental in the arrest of an international terrorist and the prevention of a legal attack. He is the kind of police officer we need right now, Mr. President, lalo na sa mga agricultural smuggling na nangyayari. Marami na po siyang natanggihan na milyong-milyong salapi para lamang para masuhol ang kanilang unit, pero hindi po ito nagtagumpay sa kanyang liderato. Police Captain Rosalino E. Panlaki, Chief of Police, Halahala Municipal Police Station. For Police Captain Rosalino E. Panlaki, fulfilling his duty as an agent of the law for around 16 years now means embracing all aspects and challenges of maintaining peace and order. As Chief of Police, he is known for building a strong relationship between the police and the community, which is founded on gaining the trust of the people through holistic engagements. With his leadership, the Halahala Police Station has adopted and institutionalized programs that empower citizens to lead better lives and uplift their conditions. And last but not the least, Police Colonel Lambert A. Suerte, Battalion Commander, Regional Mobile Force Battalion, National Capital Region Police Office. Police Colonel Lambert A. Suerte's resolve and expertise as a commander have been tested in several armed encounters with enemy forces. Foremost among these is leading his men to victory and safety during the Marawi City siege in 2017. He was wounded but did not back away from the fight. Throughout his 26 years in service, his efforts were vital in the liberation of stakeholders groups from security threats. In view of the foregoing, Mr. President, this representation urges this august body to adopt Senate Resolution Number 106, honoring and commending the Metrobank Foundation Outstanding Filipinos of 2022 for their loyalty and dedication to the Philippine Constitution, for their faithful performance of their sworn duties and responsibilities beyond reproach, and for being model citizens in their respective communities. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Grace Poe, Majority Leader.
Mr. President, may I also be recognized to co-sponsor the measure, Mr. President?
Our distinguished Majority Floor Leader is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, it is my honor and privilege to co-sponsor the Senate resolution. This representation filed Senate Resolution Number 208, recognizing and congratulating the Metrobank Foundation Outstanding Filipinos of 2022, a consolidation of various Senate resolutions, including the bill that this representation filed. Mr. President, kung sa hinaharap tatanungin po ako ng aking mga apo kung paano ko isasalarawan ang nakaraang 2 taon ng pandemyang dulot ng coronavirus, siguro po ganito yung magiging sagot ko. Isa ito sa pinakamadilim na punto ng kasaysayan. Marami sa ating mga kababayan ang nawalan ng trabaho, nawalan ng kakayahang makakain ng sapat araw-araw, at nawalan ng mahal sa buhay. Ngunit sa kabila ng nakapanlulumong sitwasyon, kung kailan napakadali sanang unahin ang sarili sapagkat lahat tayo ay may kanya-kanyang pasan na problema. Marami sa mga Pilipino ang tumugon sa tawag ng tungkulin at nag-alay ng kanilang serbisyo para sa kapwa at sa bayan ng buong husay at tapang. Ngayong hapon, Ginoong Pangulo, kinikilala po natin at pinaparangalan natin ang 10 sa ating mga kababayan na kumakatawan sa tema ng Metrobank Foundation ngayong taon, Beyond Excellence. Just like the 685 outstanding public servants recognized by the Metrobank Foundation since 1985, they embody selflessness, dedication, and integrity. These 10 extraordinary Filipinos rendered services above and beyond the call of duty and made a difference in the lives of their fellow Filipinos. As Jimmy Johnson said, and I quote, "The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is that little extra," close quote. We honor the following change makers for outstanding award for teachers. Let me acknowledge Mr. Junmerth Horta, Bukidnon's indigenous educator for the indigenous peoples. Teacher 1 and officer in charge of KP Piyanan, Te Balugo in San Fernando, Bukidnon, Mr. President, your kababayan. Dr. Christine Joy Aguila from Quezon City. She's a Quezon City's champion educator of Filipino language instruction, Special Science Teacher 5 at the Philippine Science High School main campus. Dr. Mark Nolan Confessor, Mindanao's physicist educator extraordinaire, Professor 6 at the Mindanao State University Iligan Institute of Technology in Iligan City. Dr. Leonila Dance, Manila's pioneering educator on pediatric rheumatology, Professor 12 at the University of the Philippines, Manila. For outstanding award for soldiers from Maguindanao, Technical Sergeant Joel Tuganan, Central Mindanao's Combat Ace and Marksman, First Sergeant of the Delta Company, 33rd Infantry Battalion, 6th Infantry Division of the Philippine Army in Raja Buayan. Colonel Maria Victoria 1 from Taguig City, Philippine Army's Health Service Innovator, Army Chief Nurse at the Philippine Army Headquarters, Fort Bonifacio. Colonel Stephen Cabanlet, Philippine Marine Corps, Visionary Warrior for Peace, Assistant Chief of Unified Command Staff for Operations, U3 Western Command at Camp General Artemio Ricarte, Puerto Princesa City, Palawan. For the outstanding award for police officers, Police Executive Master Sergeant Rogelio Rodriguez Jr., Criminal Investigation and Detection Group's Crime Busting Intelligence Operative, investigator at the Anti-Fraud and Commercial Crimes Unit, Criminal Investigation and Detection Group in Quezon City. Police Captain Rosalino Panlaki, Halahala Rizal's Chief Protector and Community Relations Advocate, Chief of Police, the Halahala Municipal Police Station, Halahala Rizal. Police Colonel Lambert Suerte, PNP Special Action Force, Stalwart of Law and Public Safety. Battalion Commander, Regional Mobile Force Battalion, National Capital Region Police Office in Taguig City. Mr. President, we commend these outstanding men and women for their unwavering commitment to the highest standards of public service and integrity. Sa gitna po ng pandemya at iba pang mga sakuna, hindi sila kailanman nagpatinag. Ginampanan nila ang kanilang tungkulin bilang mga guro, pulis at sundalo ng buong husay at dedikasyon at may pagsasaalang-alang sa kapakanan ng kapwa Pilipino at ng buong bansa. Nagsisilbi silang inspirasyon sa milyon-milyon nating mga kababayan. Patunay po sila na ang bawat Pilipino ay may kakayanang makapag-ambag sa pagpapabuti ng buhay ng iba at pag-unlad ng ating bansa. Finally, Mr. President, let me take this opportunity to thank the Metrobank Foundation Incorporated, headed by its president, our dear friend, Mr. Aniceto Sobrepeña, for remaining committed to promoting a culture of excellence in public service. I can attest to the integrity and nobility of this prestigious Career Service Award for Filipino exemplars because this representation had the privilege of being chosen as the chairperson of the final Board of Judges in 2016 for the search for outstanding teachers. We also congratulate Metrobank on its diamond anniversary. For the past 60 years, Metrobank has been the government's partner in growing our economy and in nation building. Muli, maraming salamat po at naway pagpalain tayong lahat ng ating Panginoong Diyos. Mr.
Thank
President,
you very much, Majority Leader.
thank you, Mr. President. At this juncture, Mr. President, may I also move that the co-sponsorship speech of Senator Sani Angara be inserted into the records.
We take note of the motion of the Majority Floor Leader. Maybe Senator Revilla as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
Majority Leaders raising his hand.
Mr. President, at this juncture, I move that we recognize our Senate President pro tempore, Senator Lauren Legarda, to co-sponsor the measure.
Senator Lauren Legarda, our Senate President pro tempore, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Fellow members of this august chamber, a new day of optimism and hope has dawned with the announcement of the Outstanding Filipinos of 2022 by the Metrobank Foundation. When Filipinos take pride in their work, forge paths for change, and persevere in the face of adversity, our spirits rise. Our 10 outstanding Filipinos of 2022 prove this to be true. Without a doubt, they are exemplary examples of today's educators, law enforcers, and the women and men in uniform. To the awardees, June Murph C. Horta, Dr. Christine Joy D.R. Aguila, Dr. Leonila F. Dans, MD, Dr. Mark Nolan P. Confessor, PhD, Police Executive Master Sergeant Rogelio A. Rodriguez, Jr., Police Captain Rosalino E. Panlaki, Police Colonel Lambert A. Suerte, Technical Sergeant Joel L. Tuganan, Colonel Maria Victoria P1, and Colonel Stephen L. Cabanlet. I commend and thank each and every one of you for the exceptional work that you have done, for your significant contributions to the cause of honest public service and responsible leadership. The Filipino people are fortunate to have you. I would also like to add my praise and commendation for the Metrobank Foundation's unwavering dedication to its stated mission of encouraging a culture of professionalism, excellence, and heroism. Keep being the force that motivates our fellow Filipinos to serve our country with utmost dedication. In light of the foregoing, Mr. President, this representation requests that the Senate adopt the resolution honoring and commending the Metrobank Foundation Outstanding Filipinos of 2022, and I wish to associate myself with the thoughts and views of the principal sponsor of the measure, Senator Grace Poe. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much to our distinguished Senate President Pro Tempore.
Thank
Majority
you.
Leader.
Mr. President, next on the list is the distinguished lady from Makati, the author of Senate Resolution number 108, no other than Senator Nancy Binay, not only from Makati but from Isabela and the Republic of the Philippines.
She reminded you once again. Huh?
Yes.
Yes. Our
May I move that
distinguished-
she be recognized, Mr. President?
Our distinguished colleague from Makati City, Isabela, and Republic of the Philippines, Senator Nancy Binay is recognized.
Mr. President, my esteemed colleagues, it is my privilege and honor to sponsor Senate Resolution 108, honoring and commending the recipients of the 2022 Metrobank Foundation Outstanding Filipinos. Last year, I was fortunate to be part of the search, and I know how difficult it is to choose from a list of deserving candidates. Kaya naman, bukod sa mga awardees natin ngayong taon, lubos din nating binabati ang Metrobank Foundation, headed by Mr. Chito Sobrepeña, Rotary Club of Makati Metro, the Rotary Club of New Manila East, and everyone who dedicated their time and effort to ensure the success of this year's search. Through the Metrobank Foundation Outstanding Filipinos, we recognize how important the fields of education, law enforcement, and military service are in our nation's growth. One of our teacher awardees, Mr. Junmerth C. Horta, is a full-time elementary teacher of the Matigsalug tribe in San Fernando, Bukidnon. He is the first among the many volunteer educators who decided to stay and help establish a last-mile school called Kiupianan Tebulugo. Bukod dito, pinangunahan din niya ang ilang mga sustainable programs para labanan ng landslides and flash floods sa kanilang komunidad. Nariyan din si Binibining Christine Joy D.R. Aguila na isang guro sa Philippine Science High School, main campus. Kilala bilang isa sa mga natatanging guro pagdating sa Filipino language instruction. Siya rin ay kinilala sa ikalimang Cleofe M. Bakungan Natatanging Guro Awards noong nakaraang taon. Para sa mga guro sa tertiary education, kinilala ng Metrobank Foundation si Mark Nolan P. Confessor na profesor ng Mindanao State University, Iligan Institute of Technology, Iligan City, dahil sa kanyang kontribusyon sa larangan ng physics. He initiated the establishment of the Soft Matter and Biological Physics Laboratory, the first of its kind in the country. Bukod dito, siya din ay naging pinakabatang dean ng College of Science and Mathematics sa Mindanao State University, Iligan Institute of Technology noong 2016. Kinilala naman si Dr. Leonila F. Dance ng University of the Philippines, Manila, na tinaguriang Manila's pioneering educator on pediatric rheumatology. Si Dr. Dance po ang unang pediatric rheumatologist ng Pilipinas at isa sa mga kauna-unahang clinical epidemiologist sa ating bansa. Meanwhile, representing our police force, our Police Executive Master Sergeant Rogelio A. Rodriguez Jr., who is one of the best intelligence operatives of the CIDG. His work has led to the apprehension of high-profile criminals and the prevention of several planned terrorist attacks. Police Captain Rosalino E. Panlaki, on the other hand, is being recognized for his advocacy of building a strong relationship between the police and the community. He is the Chief of Police of Hala Hala Rizal and is known for his programs in community development and bringing police transformation, especially in the grassroots level. Police Colonel Lambert A. Suerte, meanwhile, is being recognized for his expertise in public safety. He is known as the PNP Special Action Force stalwart and is a veteran of many armed encounters. Most notably, he led 108 of his men to victory and safety during the Marawi City Siege in 2017. Representing our soldiers, we have Technical Sergeant Joel L. Tuganan from the Delta Company, 33rd Infantry Battalion, 6th Infantry Division, Philippine Army, is an expert in combat and in marksmanship. A Scout Ranger, he bravely serves in Maguindanao as a training instructor and combat medic. He was also named Enlisted Personnel of the Year during the Philippine Army's 121st Founding Anniversary celebration in 2018 for his various accomplishments on the field. Meanwhile, Army Chief Nurse Colonel Maria Victoria P. Juan is being recognized for her key role in the enhancement of the Army's casualty care management system. Colonel Mimi is also an advocate of continuous education and training of nursing service personnel and conceptualized the Nurse Manager Certification Program and Nurse Executive Certification Program, which prepare nurses to assume leadership and management roles. Last but not the least, Colonel Stephen L. Cabanlet from the Philippine Navy is being recognized for his efforts in fostering peace and development in conflict-ridden areas. One of his initiatives is the Sports Advocacy Program Football for Peace, which he started in Sulu and is now being adopted in different areas in the country. Mga kaibigan, bukod sa kanilang angking galing, ipinakita ng ating mga outstanding Filipinos na binubuo ng mga guro, pulis at sundalo ang kanilang pagmamahal sa bayan at ang kagustuhan na ilaan ang kanilang mga sarili para sa ikauunlad ng kanilang kapwa. I therefore urge my colleagues to lend their support in adopting this resolution. Naway dumami pa ang mga katulad nilang naglilingkod para sa bayan at para sa kapakanan ng ating mga kababayan. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much to our distinguished colleague from Makati and Isabela, Senator Binay, Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. President, next on the list is the distinguished gentleman from Valenzuela City, our seatmate, the author of Senate Resolution 154, Senator Sherwin Gatchalian. I move that he be recognized.
To our distinguished colleague from Valenzuela, Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, Mr. President, before I insert my speech into the records, gusto ko lang po una-una gusto ko po pasalamatan ang Metrobank Foundation sa pagbibigay pugay at parangal sa mga taong nagsilbing inspirasyon po sa ating lahat. At pangalawa po, Ginoong Pangulo, gusto ko rin pong pasalamatan at ikunggit ang mga nabigyan po ng award ng Metrobank Foundation. Maraming salamat at sila po ay nagsilbing inspirasyon sa ating lahat, lalo na ho sa mga public servants na katulad ho natin. Nasabi ko ho kanina sa aking short speech na hindi po madali ang kanilang trabaho at hindi po madali ang trabaho ng isang public servant, pero sila po ay nagsakripisyo ng kanilang buhay, oras para po maiayos at bigyang sigla ang ating bansa. So muli, congratulations sa mga nanalo nitong taong 2022 at gusto ko rin po pasalamatan si Ginoong Chito Sobrapenya na suki na ho ng Senado na taon-taon ho sa ganitong buwan ay nandito ho siya para po ipakilala ho sa atin yung ating tinatawag na modern day heroes na tumatayo bilang mga personalities of excellence ng ating bansa. With that, Mr. President, allow me to insert my speech into the records. Thank you.
Thank you very much, our distinguished colleague. Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. President, Senator Bato de la Rosa, the author of Senate Resolution number 188, would also like to insert for the record his co-sponsorship speech, Mr. President.
Yes, we take note of Senator De La Rosa's manifestation of wish.
Thank you, Mr.
Majority Leader.
President. Next to co-sponsor the measure is the distinguished lady from the city of Taguig, Pateros, and the Republic of the Philippines, Senator Pia Cayetano. May I move that she be recognized, Mr. President?
Our distinguished colleague from the city of Taguig and Pateros, Senator Pia Cayetano, is recognized. Madam.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. I would just like to join our colleagues in sponsoring this resolution, commending this year's Metrobank awardees. I actually was a judge also in the early 2000, in my first year as senator, and indeed it is very difficult to choose the top 10 because there are truly many inspiring men and women in these fields. But today we have 10 of them selected for 2022. And I'd just like to say, Your Honor, that beyond the titles and accolades that each of these awardees have or have received, we all know that they have personal stories and challenges that they had to overcome and deal with, and yet still be able to serve our country. We may not know what these challenges were, but they are human beings like us. They are family members, and surely they have made sacrifices. So for that reason, serving the country beyond the call of their duty is something that we commend. And I'd personally like to congratulate each and every one of them. Just to name a few, because these are some of those who I am familiar with or whose story I have followed. Dr. Inday Dance, I know her because I've worked with her. Her husband is also a doctor, also a professor in PGH. And beyond the commendations that she has received, I'd like to put on record that during the height of the pandemic, she and her husband took time to brief me regularly, Your Honors. Sometimes twice a week, we would be on the phone at midnight because that would be the only time that they would be finished with their work. So I have been privileged to work with her. And as Mr. Chito Sobrepeña says, they have the honor, her and her husband, Tony Dance, of being the only couple that are both Metrobank awardees. Anong year si Tony? 2004. And sabi ni Dr. Inday, kasi matanda na siya sa akin. Matanda na siya. Joke lang. Pero was that the year ba that I was the chair, a judge, 2004 or 2005, somewhere there. Anyway, I move on to another person. I will not mention all the names, Your Honors. I am just mentioning a few. Colonel Victoria Juan, an Army chief nurse. Yesterday and in the days in the past, we talked about the brain drain. The nurses and other our healthcare professionals, Dr. Inday and I have had these conversations also in the past, how many of our nurses have left the country. And here we have an awardee, not only serving our country, marami naman ang naninilbihan sa bansa natin, mga hinahangaan kong health workers, especially at the height of COVID. But she was an inspiration. She worked not just during the pandemic, but even before that, inspiring those around her in their field of work. So maraming salamat din sa'yo. And the final person I'll mention, wala ko akong favoritism ha. Namili lang ako ng tatlo kasi baka titigan na ako ng masama ng majority floor leader dahil marami pang gusto magsalita. Kaya sabi ko, last na lang ako para I can take a little bit of my time. But si Colonel Stephen Cabanlet, I've never met you, sir. Nasaan ka na ba? He's not here. Okay. I've never met him, but I heard about this Football for Peace program. My daughters are football players. I am an original supporter of the Philippine women's football team. I have brought football programs to different parts of the country. So when I heard of this program, talagang I wanted to be a part of it then kasi iba talaga yung effect ng sports. Yesterday, I gave a speech on how sports to me has been, to me, the easiest way to promote nationalism and patriotism. So gusto ko lang din banggitin yon. And similarly, when my daughters were playing football, General Bato, Senator Bato, you'd like to hear this. I might have told you, when my daughters were still playing football for UP, I had the occasion twice to bring the UP football team, women's team, to play against the PMAers in Baguio. Kasi that was my way of fostering peace. Mga babae, mga lalaki, medyo nga nag-exchange pa ng mga cellphone numbers. O di ba? So parang years later, kung magkakitaan yan sa kung saan man, sana maalala naman nila na many years ago, there were programs like this where we tried to foster friendship and understanding and unity. So on that note, Mr. President, I congratulate the Metrobank Foundation. Its president, Mr. Chito Sobrepeña, has become a good friend, and I admire your resilience, sir, in bringing this inspiring people to us and to sharing their stories with the Filipino people, and of course the T family who have made this possible. So congratulations to all of you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Senator Cayetano. Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. President, the distinguished gentleman from the great province of Cavite, Senator Bong Revilla, would like to make a manifestation. I move that he be recognized, Mr. President.
Our distinguished colleague, Senator Bong Revilla, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a short manifestation. I join our colleagues in honoring our 2022 Metrobank outstanding Filipino awardees. They have been defined by their character, competence, and compassion, exemplifying the true meaning of beyond excellence for their dedication and professionalism in the pursuit of excellent public service. Our teachers, police, and military are among the largest workforce in the bureaucracy. Their invaluable contributions in the society have helped shape our nation. Ang kanilang mga alay sa bayan ang pundasyon ng ating ngayon at bukas. They are our teachers who selflessly strive towards molding the youth of this country, forging on despite the challenges, especially amidst pandemic. They are our police and military officers who always take the extra mile to enforce our laws, guided with genuine concern for the common good. Our commendations to them will not be enough with the great hope that they have shared to us. They deserve more for walking their talk in fulfilling their solemn oaths to God and to our nation. May you remain steadfast in inspiring our fellow Filipinos towards the best of public service. Mabuhay po kami, mabuhay po kayo, at saludo po kaming lahat sa inyo. Thank you.
Maraming salamat, Senator Bong Revilla.
Yes,
Majority Leader.
Mr. President, last but not the least, to co-sponsor the measure is the distinguished gentleman from Davao, Senator Christopher Bongo. I move that he be recognized.
Our distinguished colleague from the city of Davao, Senator Christopher Bongo, recognized.
Mr. President, it is my honor to co-sponsor the Senate resolution congratulating and commending the Metrobank Foundation Outstanding Filipinos of 2022. This award is a fitting recognition of your professionalism, competence, and integrity. This award is an appreciation of our society for your service to the country beyond excellence. Mr. President, the 4 outstanding teachers we are honoring today have contributed to the improvement of the quality of education in our country. They have played a significant role in molding the minds of our youth and shaping the future of our country. I would like to express my gratitude to Mr. Junmert Horta, Ms. Christine Joy Aguila, Dr. Mark Nolan Confessor, Ms. Leonila Dance. To the outstanding teachers, thank you for taking on the critical role of guiding, molding, and inspiring our nation's future leaders. May you continue to impart knowledge among our youth and continue to be pillars of education. Full support po ako sa ating mga guro, sa mga teachers. Mr. President, I am also glad to recognize 3 outstanding soldiers and 3 outstanding policemen for their contributions in maintaining peace and order and security in our country. Technical Sergeant Joel Tuganan, Colonel Maria Victoria Juan. Parati ko po itong nakikita tuwing bumibisita kami sa mga nasusugatang sundalo sa Hulo, sa Zamboanga. Colonel Stephen Cabanlet, Philippine Marine Corps. Police Executive Master Sergeant Rogelio Rodriguez Jr., Police Captain Rosalino Panlaki, at Police Colonel Lambert Suerte. To our outstanding soldiers and police officers, thank you for protecting the lives and safety of our people, even at the risk of your own. Your bravery and commitment to your duty are beyond compare. May you continue to defend and promote peace throughout the country. Gaya ng dati, noon pa man, panahon ni Pangulong Duterte, hanggang ngayon po, sa mga pulis at sundalo, full support po kami sa inyo. Lalong-lalo na po in line of duty. Once again, I congratulate and thank the 10 Metro Bank Foundation outstanding Filipinos for their excellence and dedication to their respective fields of service. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you to our distinguished colleague. Majority Leader, before we approve
I will move.
and adopt, may I also just say, I'll just make a quick manifestation.
Please, Mr. President.
Yes, this year's awards are more special for me, sweeter for me, because we have one from my province of Bukidnon. I'm very proud of him, and of course of all the soldiers and policemen and teachers that have won in this year's awards. But just to put in proper context, San Fernando Bukidnon is one of the most interior municipalities of our province. It holds about maybe 60 to 70% indigenous peoples as its population. And they're the most in need, particularly on the field of education. There's three barangays that we'd passed through. I used to be the congressman of the 3rd District of Bukidnon. And the Matigsalog tribes in Digungan, Panganan, and Kiolom. I'm sure this good gentleman, Mr. Balugo, is familiar with these 3 barangays. We have to cross 26 water crossings, river crossings, 26 times to reach these barangays. And it's from the same river. Can you imagine that? So parang bitukang manok itong river na ito at dinadaanan namin sila. And also I'd say it used to be a hotspot for insurgency. So the key really is education. So I'm so happy, and I thank Mr. Sobrepeña, Alfred, and Arthur T. of Metrobank Foundation for all the support that you give these men and women dedicated to educate and to protect the Filipino people. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. We thank you all for your service, and you deserve every bit of this award. Kaya maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. So let's now move to the motion.
Yes, Mr. President, and with the permission of our distinguished colleagues, I will move now, Mr. President, that all members of the Senate be made co-authors of this resolution.
Thank you very much for that, Majority Leader. That being said, without any objection, the motion is approved.
Mr. President, no member wishes to interpolate or propose amendments to the measure. I move that we adopt proposed Senate Resolution number 106, taking into consideration proposed Senate Resolution numbers 108, 151, 154, 188, 208, and 210 subject to style. I so move, Mr. President.
There being no objection to the motion of the Majority Floor Leader, there being none, Senate Resolution number 106, taking into consideration Senate Resolution number 108, 151, 154, 188, 208, 201, and all the other resolutions pending are hereby adopted by your Senate. Congratulations, gentlemen and women of the Metrobank awardees.
Mr. President, I move for a minute suspension
Yes.
so that we can invite the awardees to be with us at the rostrum for our picture taking, Mr. President.
Yes, and
Thank
we're
you.
going to give them all the
In
resolutions.
the resolutions, yes.
So session is suspended before I suspend, we will have an executive session right after, straight to the
after.
executive session.
Yes, Mr. President.
Session suspended.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, this juncture I move that we proceed with the reference of business. So moved.
There being no objection to our distinguished colleague, the Majority Floor Leader, reference of business is in order. Secretary?
Committee reports. Committee report number 4, prepared and submitted jointly by the Committees on Electoral Reforms and People's Participation, Local Government, and Finance on Senate number 1306, with Senators Escudero, Estrada, Gatchalian, and Marcos as authors thereof. An act postponing the December 2022 Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections, amending for the purpose RA 9164 as amended by RA 9340, 10632, 10656, 10923, 10952, and 11462, and for other purposes, recommending its approval in substitution of Senate numbers 288, 453, and 684. Sponsor Senator Marcos. Ordinary business.
To the archives? To the, sorry. Calendar of ordinary business. My apologies.
Committee report number 5, prepared and submitted jointly by the Committees on Public Services, Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship, Science and Technology, and Banks, Financial Institutions, and Currencies on S number 1310, with Senators Zubiri, Poe, Gatchalian, Villanueva, De La Rosa, Ejercito, Estrada, Villarc, and Binay as authors thereof. An act eradicating mobile phone or electronic communication-aided criminal activities, regulating for this purpose the registration and use of all subscriber identity module, SIM, for electronic devices, recommending its approval in substitution of Senate numbers 82, 99, 153, 366, 429, 802, and 1238, taking into consideration proposed Senate Resolution number 69, 133, and 182, and the privileged speech of Senator Estrada entitled Scam, Spam, and Scam Text Messages dated 5 September 2022, sponsor Senator Poe.
To the calendar for ordinary business. Majority Leader?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we transfer from the calendar of ordinary business to the calendar for special orders Committee Report number 5 on Senate Bill number 1310 entitled An Act Eradicating Mobile Phone or Electronic Communication-Aided Criminal Activities, regulating for this purpose the registration and use of all subscriber identity module, SIM, for electronic devices.
Is there any objection to the motion of the Majority Floor Leader? There being none, motion is approved.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we consider Senate Bill number 1310 as reported out under Committee Report number 5. So moved, Mr. President.
Is there any objection? There being none, the motion is approved. Consideration of Senate Bill number 1310 is now in order. May we ask the Secretary to read the title of the measure?
An act eradicating mobile phone or electronic communication-aided criminal activities, regulating for this purpose the registration and use of all subscriber identity module for electronic devices.
Majority Leader?
With that, Mr. President, I move to recognize the sponsor of the measure, the distinguished lady from Pangasinan, Iloilo, and the Republic of the Philippines, the chairperson of the Committee on Public Services, Senator Grace Poe, to deliver her sponsorship speech.
To our amazing Grace Poe, you are now recognized, Madam.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. Whenever you give me glowing introductions, I get a little bit worried. On the other, I would like to thank the Senate President and our colleagues present here today for the lateness of the hour in allowing me to still deliver this sponsorship speech indicating the importance of this bill. It is my honor to sponsor once again a measure that aims to address the proliferation of text scams and other SIM-aided fraud in the country. Last Congress, I spoke with urgency on how unregistered SIMs are being used to facilitate a wide range of criminal activities, from wide-reaching malicious schemes like credit card scams, phishing, and text scams, to acts of terrorism such as the detonation of bombs and explosives. We are not alone in wanting this kind of policy. In fact, we are late in the game. Globally, the trend skews heavily in favor of SIM registration. A total of 157 countries in the world have adopted laws that require the mandatory registration of SIMs, including nations with the highest regard for data, privacy rights such as Japan, South Korea, Australia, and most countries in the European Union. Sadly, the situation has only gotten worse. In fact, ang nag-improve lang ata ay ang creativity ng mga manloloko. Kaya dati, template message lang ang laman ng mga text scams. Ngayon, kasama na pati buong pangalan mo. To paint a picture of how widespread these scams are, Smart was able to block over 23 million phishing messages in a span of 3 days alone, and has blocked almost 78,000 SIMs from January to May 2022. Globe, on the other hand, has blocked a staggering 784 million scam and spam messages and has deactivated 14,058 scam-linked mobile numbers. Nakakalula talaga ang mga numerong ito, Mr. President, and we don't even need to look far to find a concrete example of all these scams. Buksan mo lang ang iyong cellphone at mabibilang mo na kung ilang scam at spam messages ang nare-receive mo kada araw. Last week, our fellow senators also shared their encounters with these felons. In his privileged speech, Senator Estrada shared a scheme he encountered wherein several individuals posing as local officials got a hold of his number and tried to solicit funds for their bogus projects. They even asked for a video greeting from the good senator to lend legitimacy to these projects. Mga mang-i-scam na nga lang sa'yo, gagamitin pa para mang-scam ng iba. Our very own Senate President was not spared from these schemes and extortion attempts. 2 individuals posed as local officials and tried to extort as much as 50,000 from his office. Kung ang lawmakers at officials na nakakakuha ng mga ganitong messages at na-expose sa mga ganitong panloloko, paano pa kaya ang mga ordinaryong mamamayan? This is why I rise once again to submit to the plenary the SIM registration bill, which mandates the mandatory registration of all subscriber identity modules so that the ill-intentioned scammers and criminals can no longer hide under the shadows of anonymity. Notably, we dropped the word card in SIM card to make way for newer types of SIM that are not contained in card form, such as eSIMs. We are future-proofing a regulation that deals with technology to ensure that this law will adapt to the creative ways of fraudsters. Registration is also made a prerequisite to the activation of SIM. The buyer is required to submit a duly accomplished electronic registration form and to present or upload a valid government ID or other similar forms of documents before their SIM can be activated. So kahit saan mo pa nabili ang SIM, kailangan mo pa rin i-register ang SIM para ma-activate at magamit ito. Telcos are tasked to keep the submitted information safe and secure in a centralized database. To ensure the protection of our data and to keep the telcos in check, DICT is mandated to perform an actual audit of the telcos' compliance with the proper information security standards. Further, the bill shall continue to uphold and give highest regard to the privacy of consumers. Accordingly, heavy emphasis is placed on the absolute confidentiality of the submitted information, and disclosure is only allowed upon a court order or a subpoena or with the consent of the subscriber or in compliance with the Data Privacy Act. Any breach of confidentiality will be heavily punished. Finally, the bill retains the provision which states that any doubt in the interpretation of any of its provision and its implementing rules and regulations shall be construed in a manner that accords the highest respect for privacy and liberally interpreted in a manner mindful of the rights and interests of SIM subscribers. As I've mentioned before, this bill is not the panacea to all the ills and evil proliferating in our telecommunications system. The false job offers, cash loans, sale of solar lights, winning raffles and other malicious and scam messages may not disappear overnight. But this bill is a concrete step towards making our telecommunications and digital system a safer environment for all, as had been the hope and belief of the 18th Congress when it previously unanimously passed the measure. Mr. President, fellow senators, it is thus my honor to endorse to this chamber for deliberation Senate Bill number 1310 under Committee Report number 5. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much to our distinguished sponsor, Senator Grace Po, Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. President, before I ask that this representation be recognized, may I also put on record that our distinguished and beloved Senate President would just insert into the records his co-sponsorship speech.
Thank
Mr.
you. I was
President.
just about to move for that later on. But yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, may I be recognized for a very, very short co-sponsorship speech?
Our distinguished Majority Leader is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Mr. President, esteemed colleagues, it is my honor to co-sponsor this measure, Senate Bill number 1310 under Committee Report number 5, entitled Subscriber Identity Module or SIM Registration Act. We commend and recognize the passion and untiring efforts of our chairperson of the Committee on Public Service, Senator Grace Po. I attended the hearings in the previous Congress and attended that hearing held last week, Mr. President, as we are very passionate in passing this particular measure. Mr. President, in this day and age, it is clear that even cell phones and SIM cards are now likewise being used for all sorts of cruel, unscrupulous, or illegal activities, including scamming or defrauding individuals. This new generation of cyber criminals have become so ingenious that they now know our names. And in my case, Mr. President, even the name of my brother, Mr. President, and appear to be from a legitimate sources, Mr. President. This representation is particularly upset by recruitment text scams or smishing because they feed on the desperation of unemployed Filipinos who are tricked to part with their personal information and money in order to land a non-existent job. At a 5.2% unemployment rate for July this year, Mr. President, these people need real opportunities for employment, not scams. Sabi nga ho natin noong nakaraang pagdinig, hindi na natin magawa ng paraan na gumawa at lumikha ng trabaho, hindi pa natin maprotektahan, Ginoong Pangulo, ang ating mga kababayan na mabiktima nitong mga kriminal na ito. Unfortunately, Mr. President, these acts are made possible thanks to the anonymity in SIM card ownership, an anonymity that has been exploited by these criminals. Mr. President, as of March 2022, there are a total of 162.7 million subscribers of Globe, Smart, and Dito telecommunications. These 162.7 million subscribers are the potential pool of victims. And we could just imagine the disaster it will bring if we don't do anything to stop these perpetrators. The Philippines is not alone in its effort to address this particular issue. As of 2021, 157 countries have enforced mandatory SIM card registration. Uulitin ko po, 157 countries, including democratic countries like Norway, Japan, Switzerland, Australia, Germany, South Korea, and Brazil. Perhaps, Mr. President, it is high time we follow suit, Mr. President. We need to undertake strategic and proactive measures that will uphold the data privacy rights and other rights of our citizens. We can learn a lot from the best practices implemented by other countries. Our neighbor, for instance, Singapore, during the committee hearing, has established its anti-scam center. In an article by the Straits Times, it has reported that more than 27,300 bank accounts, Mr. President, have been frozen and recovered more than $200 million since the establishment of the center in June 2019. While they aim to recover funds lost to scams, the center's operations will now include dismantling scam operations even before people make a report. In closing, Mr. President, at this juncture, I would just like to put on record that at the proper time, this representation may introduce some suggested amendments as this was already relayed to our chairperson to further safeguard and protect our citizens, aimed not only to penalize scammers but also to protect our citizens' rights to speech, expression, and privacy. Again, marami pong salamat, Ginoong Pangulo, and may God bless us all.
Thank you very much, Majority Leader.
Mr. President, the distinguished gentleman from San Juan, our distinguished colleague, Deputy Majority Leader, Senator J.V. Ejercito, would like to be recognized. I move that he be recognized, Mr. President.
To insert or to read his speech?
Yes, Mr. President, to spend time because it's getting late already,
Yes, sir.
I move that my co-sponsorship speech be inserted in the records.
Thank you. Thank you, my distinguished Deputy Majority Leader. Just like I did with mine. Yeah. Anyway, Majority Leader.
Yes. Yes, Mr. President. Mr. President, there are several senators who wishes to co-sponsor the committee report of Senator Grace Poe. We can continue the period of sponsorship tomorrow, and so I move that we suspend consideration of the measure. I so move, Mr. President. Mr. President, sorry.
Senator
Bato
Bato,
de la Rosa,
may
before,
you recognize
may
Senator
I
Bato?
withdraw my motion? May we recognize the distinguished gentleman from Davao, Mr. President, our hardworking chairperson of the Committee on Public Order, Senator Bato de la Rosa. I move that he be recognized,
Thank
Mr.
you very
President.
much, Senator Bato de la Rosa. You're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President, Majority Leader. And also, I would like to manifest that my six-page co-sponsorship speech be inserted into the records to save time for everyone, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'd like to thank the distinguished gentleman from Davao. Truly appreciate it, sir.
Thank you, Senator Bato. Likewise, Mr. President, I got a message from our dear colleague, Senator Bong Revilla of the province of Cavite. He would also wanted to just insert into the records his co-sponsorship speech.
Thank you very much for that manifestation. We
Again,
take note
Mr.
of it.
President, I move that we suspend consideration of this particular measure, Mr. President.
Before we do that, with the agreement that there's a one-day rule from sponsorship to debate. So we already complied today, we sponsored.
Yes.
And tomorrow there are more sponsorships, but we can continue, we start the debate tomorrow, if it is all right with the Minority Floor Leader. Being that this is an important measure, believe that everybody, it's good for everyone.
I'm sorry, Mr. President. I would rather that we stick to the rules so that, otherwise we will
No,
be...
it's not a rule, it's an internal rule.
Yes, it's still a rule, Mr. President.
Then we close. We move to close the period of sponsorship.
Sponsorship.
Okay, period
Mr.
of
President,
sponsorship.
before we do that, may I just put on record that Senator Win Gatchalian would also like to insert for the record his sponsorship speech.
Thank you, and I think also Senator Bong
And
Bato
Senator Bongo, Mr.
Bongo
President. Yeah, be inserted
will also
into the
insert
records.
into the
So
records.
that we can start the period of interpellation
good.
and debates tomorrow.
Therefore, with that, and Senator Ligarda as well,
Senator Legarda
and Senator Estrada,
and Senator Estrada, yes, Mr. President,
Very
be
good.
inserted into the records.
they're already enjoying their dinner. We're still working. Insert na lang yung kanila. Okay. So with that, the motion is to close the period of sponsorship. No objection. Motion approved.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this juncture, some admin matters, Mr. President, with the consent of the body, I move that we elect the following additional members of the Committee on Tourism, Senator Amy Marcos, Senator Robin Hood Padilla. I so move, Mr. President.
There is, we move to suspend first the consideration.
Oh, sorry,
of the
Mr.
measure.
President.
Yeah, no problem.
I move that we suspend consideration of Senate Bill number 1310 under Committee Report number 5. I so move, Mr. President.
There being no objection to the motion is approved.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, with the consent of the body, again, I would like to move that we elect the following additional members of the Committee on Tourism, Senator Amy Marcos and Senator Robin Hood Padilla. I so move, Mr. President.
There being no objection, the said mentioned senators are hereby elected to these positions. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. President.
3 o'clock ba din? May CA para tayo bukas. Yeah.
Mr. President, I move that we adjourn the session until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Wednesday, September 14, 2022.
Is there any objection? There being none, the session is adjourned until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Wednesday, September 14, 2022. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. President.